Today we're breaking down how I look at this hobby space and everything that I'm in. Hello and welcome to Assorted Meeples. I'm Phillip, the Meeple on duty, and today we are looking at kind of how I break down my hobby of what I do. Now, everybody's going to be different, and I get that. This is just so you can kind of get to know me a bit better, even though you've seen me do videos for like 4 years now. I realized I never kind of specified this. Assorted Meeples is built on the premise that we're all different. We all like different things, but it's all kind of, to us, it's all one big hobby space. Whether it's video games, books, RPGs, board games, you name it. If it's kind of in those little niches, then we are there and we all have some involvement in them to some degree. I play video games. I play board games, I read books, watch a few movies, and tabletop RPGs. I like tabletop RPGs, but we'll get into that more in a bit. I break that down that way because there are like everybody has certain priorities. I also struggle with ADHD. It is roughly contained, which means I either hyper focus or I don't focus at all, or I hyper focus for a very short time and then move on to the next thing. Board games have stayed with me for strongly for the last like 5 years, and before that I was playing a lot of Catan against we played gentlemen's rules, but it was a very tough table to play at against a bunch of retired guys from like 2012-ish. So, been playing board games, been deep into the hobby. I would say really found the hobby playing since about 2012. Really found the hobby board game space 2015, and the Kickstarter journey started like 2019, which I should have never found. But I figure I'm not alone in it, the multi-faceted gamer profile. And I kind of wanted to laugh and lament in front of a camera with a few things as I think about them and get them down. Now, I've forgotten to do this, so I've added disclaimers through the video, but today I'm remembering. We have a Patreon, and we have a Discord tied behind that Patreon because we have one of the best non-toxic gaming communities around that covers everything I'm going to cover here and then some. Now, getting into how I would break this down, if I have time to myself, it's a toss-up whether I'm going to play a video game or read a book. Solo plays are slowly infiltrating the category as well, but not very fast. As much as I want to learn to play as a solo player, I'm very slow to pick it up and make that a habit. I'm used to board games being a very social thing rather than a solitary thing. Or if it was a solitary thing, it was like my mom playing solitaire by herself, just wasting time kind of thing. I think it's the trepidation of the rules that holds me back a lot. Like, am I going to get all the rules right? Well, what if I run into this? I don't have anybody to bounce those ideas off of in the moment, so I don't know exactly how to go. Because I usually find stuff that's worded where my brain doesn't want to answer, pick it up and answer it correct. When I say I play video games, I'm playing farming simulation, life simulation games like Stardew Valley, My Time at Portia, Dinkum, cozy life sims. Or I'm playing ridiculously old school RPGs that are just fabulous and all the nostalgia you could think of. I don't really like big AAA games. I don't need the best graphics. I don't need everything that they're trying to push at me in those titles. And I'm not saying they're bad. They're just not for me. And I don't do first-person shooters. Not that I'm bad at them and I can't pick up the skills. I just get so bored running around the few maps and shooting people. It gets very repetitive very quickly, and I don't appreciate that. And then they want you to grind for better equipment, and I'm gone. I don't have time for you to do that. Books I'm going to be reading that I'm going to pick up. I lean strongly into the fantasy, adventure, sci-fi categories, with a tend towards more the epic fantasy books and the dystopian worlds. This year already, I've read the Mistborn series, all 7 of those, through both eras. I read the Inheritance Cycle, which old series. I just wanted to see how well it held up, because I read an article on, like, is it actually a good series, or are we just giving him a really hard time? And it's okay. It's worth having on your shelf, but I would say I hope, there's a lot of books I'm going to say this about. I really hope it doesn't go to the next generation type of deal, if that makes sense, where, like, I don't think it's a classic like Lords of the Ring and a few other series where those should endure and those should go further. And then I'm currently reading through the Hunger Games. For the first time, the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. And I thought it was rather interesting. I don't think we have enough of a contingent for me to do like a book review going into what I fully thought, but it wasn't bad. It was a good read. It's a prequel where she's trying to justify things later in the series and drop a lot of hints as to what's going on. When I get together with friends, that's where my board game hobby comes in, my love of games and why I have so many of them. If I get together with people in person, that's what I want to do. I don't want to play a video game, things like that. I want to play board games. And I like midweight games that have really simple rule sets that create complex choices as you play. I love games that you're able to chat over and talk over while having to focus enough on what's going on that it pulls out the strategist in me and it pulls out that competitive nature in a good way. Those are the games that I really truly love to play. Like, that's part of why Catan, and like I really enjoy Carcassonne, because it's so simple and you don't get a heads up of what you have coming. You can't plan your things in advance other than what is already showing on the board, and it makes for really good gaming. But you're also able to talk and chat because you know the rules so well, and they're simple enough that after a few rounds you're like, oh, okay, I understand what's going on. You may not be a high level player, but you can still play, talk, and have a good time with somebody who is extremely skilled. I also love board games for the fact that they create a distraction from the conversation. Now that sounds bad because I'm talking about social, because it takes the focus off of the conversation and really lets the conversation flow, while also building that camaraderie that sports and let's face it, combat and a lot of other things like that tend to bring about. And I really enjoy that aspect as well, because if I'm going to talk to somebody, I usually prefer a one-on-one situation rather than group situations where I'll just sit and watch happily. Another one, the tabletop RPG, the TTRPGs, are one that I would love to do more of, but practically speaking, I live in the sticks, and I would have to drive an hour to find a game. And with my schedule, that doesn't really work very well. Like, I know I would have a open seat at the table at Braden's house on the Saturday and Sundays if there's room. There's already big groups, but I know technically there's that open invitation, I would assume. I don't know. We'll find out. They'll respond to this. For me to sit, but I have my kids on the weekends because my wife works all day every weekend, so it's not an option. RPGs have always been that really, really shiny, expensive thing on the other side of the glass that I just haven't invested in, or like oh my gosh, like I've played, I love them, I just haven't dipped more than a toe in. And part of that is the ADHD thing. Like, I don't know if I can maintain a character for a year-long campaign or multi-year campaign. I don't know if I could plan a campaign and run it that long. I love building worlds, though, and I really, really want to run a duet campaign for my wife, Heather, but that comes down to planning. And while I have rough ideas, I've never sat down and tried to build an actual adventure rather than just the world as a whole. And I'm getting there, and my new job has actually opened up all the possibilities of having the time to do that, and I love it. I've just been, up until now, I've been catching up. So I'm getting where that's going to be an option again, and I love it. The time to actually sit and build and create, and I need to learn a bunch more on not world building per se, but adventure building, on how to make it actually work as an adventure. I know that all the Meeples break down their priorities of these hobby spaces differently than I do, and that's perfectly fine. And that's part of what makes us a great group, is because we all approach it from a different angle, and that makes for fun times and different dynamics, especially like when you come around the board game table. Like, Shane is pure strategist, and to the point that he has broken Shogun Total War, Medieval Total War, because it just keeps upping the ante and he couldn't go back and win from the beginning. Braden comes from a collectible card game standpoint, so he learns rules and breaks them down. Callahan just watches and waits and strikes when he thinks is right. And then there's me. I bring chaos to the table. Actually, we all bring our own brand of chaos. But I'm perfectly willing to scratch a strategy that's failing in the middle of a game and build something else from what I already what has already shown itself to me. So that creates for a very different dynamic if you're used to people planning out and sticking with strategies. To have somebody just go, well, we're going this way this time, it messes with people, and it's rather fun. Thank you guys for watching. That's all I had, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.
If you like what you just saw, please support us by hitting that like button and subscribing to our channel for more great gaming content.